Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back, my brothers and sisters and viewers of Ikra TV. I'm your host Iqbal Bana. I've got Real Talk, as I said to you before. At the beginning of the program, we talked about this pandemic that we've all been suffering through, particularly the month of Ramadan, which has been extremely challenging and difficult, not just for people who've lost members of their family, but also others who have been vulnerable to this illness, and those who've lost their jobs and all incomes that they may have been receiving, and people who are already before that, who are suffering because of economic crisis that they were suffering. Now, there are many organizations up and down the country, Muslim organizations, who've really come out and shown their support for the people who are vulnerable, people who are suffering, people who are less fortunate than ourselves. And today I want to talk to you about the Al Khair experience. Al Khair itself as an organization stepped up the mark and decided they were not going to sit back while people are suffering out there, and wanted to make sure that they played their role in supporting everyone from the NHS to people like asylum seekers and refugees, young children as well, and adults who are suffering at this particular moment in time, people who didn't have any support themselves. So I'm really pleased that today I've been joined by two of the stalwarts of the Al Khair Foundation, the family of Al Khair, who can slowly and give us a little bit of an explanation of why Al Khair did what they did. So I'm really proud to have with me Tabrez Khan, who is the head of branches for Al Khair Foundation, the branches that we have throughout the country. And I've also got Harun Hussain, who's part of the Al Khair family, who is based in Birmingham. So Tabrez, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Ikra TV, as this is part of your organization. I'm a humble servant of yours, and Real Talk. Now, obviously, you headed up this campaign, on behalf of Al Khair. Why did you start it, and what was the sort of the strategy behind it?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you for having us as guests on your show. Alhamdulillah, with Al Khair Foundation, if we start right at the beginning, what's happened is that we have branches in the country who were already running food banks. So they run food banks, they run soup kitchens, they already had existing networks up and down the country. So when the pandemic hit, it was the case, a lot of the charity sector had to start from new. And the fortunate thing with us was that we were already up and running. So we were in a position where the approach we take internationally is the same approach we took in this country, and that was to work with the local communities to understand exactly where the need was, and then either to be able to handle that need ourselves, or then to partner with local community groups and get them to get those people who had fallen through the net or that were very hard to reach. And obviously there's also a gap, you see. I'll give you an example. In Glasgow, some of the work that we've done, we're very proud to be able to say that we were awarded funding by the Scottish Government. We're the only Muslim charity in...
and I've been told, there's a video in the background that is playing which shows some of the work that you're doing. So you might want to explain what the video is showing there.
Yeah, well, this is something that there you are, timely, I'm in the video as we speak. But this was actually something that was happening in Bolton, and what we were doing is sorry? London. Oh, is that in London now? Okay, so they moved to London. So, we've got a number of these food banks up and down the country.
Right.
But, the simple truth of it is that we, for example, in Glasgow, we were the only ones that got government funding, some funding from the Scottish Government. This is us working with the major organisation which provided over 1 million meals a week in the Manchester region, and they outsourced the
1 million meals a week. Where?
They were doing in the whole of Manchester, in that region. And some of the work was out.
So you partnered up with that organisation?
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And with ourselves, we ran food banks, soup kitchens, providing hot meals to different organisations, working with refugees, with isolated people, and that's been happening up and down the country.
All right. So this has been happening in all the branches as well.
Yeah, up and down the country.
Partnering up with the local organisation. I know certainly here in Bradford, the Al Khair office here partnered up with a number of local organisations to help the NHS and the vulnerable community as well. Harun, can you give us just an example of some of the specific work that you've been doing, supporting lonely people, vulnerable people, asylum seekers, refugees?
Absolutely. So What we did at the branches is, I'm the branch manager in Birmingham, so straight away what we did is we, across all branches in the UK, we transformed our branches into, because there's less people on the streets coming to donate, so we had a limited, so we changed our offices into food banks. So donation points, so people were coming and donating food, plus we were getting our own food donations, purchasing food, and we were making a food bank, so everyone that needed food, we distributing food to them.
And how did you identify those people? Who
So what we did is we partnered up with local food banks,
right.
and then we also put a message out, because what happened was a lot of people did not meet the criteria for food banks.
Right.
So food banks have certain criteria for you to get the food from them. So there's a whole section of society that, because they were working and just because of the coronavirus, they lost their work, or they were stuck at home and they were not earning any money. So they were stuck for they couldn't buy food. So and they were going to food banks, and food bank couldn't help them because a lot of food banks changed the criteria. So over 65s or people from the NHS, and they have a lot of criteria now. So those people were stuck. So what we did with food banks is, whoever you can't provide food to, we will provide food to them.
Right.
So they were going to people, and if they couldn't provide food to a certain family, but they were still in need, they would refer to us, and we would drop.
And
food
what was a package of food that you gave to these?
So
people?
it would be enough food for a week, and we would have all the basic necessities. So we would try to have long life stuff in there, so tinned food. We would try to have some bread, eggs, the usual dairy stuff, milk, cornflakes, cereals, beans, pasta sauce, so all stuff that would last them a long time, and it's quite general.
Sustainable, So,
absolutely.
we also have Aisha Paracha, who's part of your team, on the line as well. She's joining us in this sort of time of social distancing. As you can see, we are social distancing. You're part of the same team, so you're okay to come and talk to us as well. Aisha, are you online with us at the moment? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam. Yes, I'm online with you, yeah.
And you're based in Birmingham as well, aren't you?
No, so I'm actually based in
London,
the London area. We cover the Croydon area and some of the south.
All right. And what's your experience? How easy or difficult has it been for you to start this, this work of supporting those who are less fortunate than ourselves, and those vulnerable families in your area? And how generous have you found our community?
So it has been quite a challenging process, because there's a huge demand for help. Just going back to what Haroon has said and Tabreza said, there are many people that have found themselves in a situation where they are not able to provide for their family, and they're not able to get support from a food bank or receive benefits. People have been made redundant, they've been put on furlough. We've also got people that are self-employed that are not entitled to benefits. So it's been challenging, but we've been able to build several partnerships just in such a short amount of time, being 2 months. We've built partnerships with masjids. We've got Pearly Masjid, we've got Lewisham Masjid, and we also have the Al-Nagashi Centre. So we've partnered.
So we seem to have some technical issues at the moment. It looks like we might have a technical issue. Are you back? Yeah, are you back with us?
Am I back?
Yes, we lost you for a little while there. You were talking about
I'm not sure where you lost me, so you'll have to remind me.
Yeah, we lost you where you were talking about the partnership with the masjid as well.
We've partnered up with a few masjids. So we're working with Pearly Masjid,
right,
Al-Nagashi Mosque, which is in Lambeth, and we are also working with Lewisham Mosque. So they have, they're supporting their communities, and we're working with them actively within their communities. And what we're doing is we're creating these basic food packs, with basic amenities, such as rice, pasta, flour. And we're giving them, a 1 week supply to supplement what they have, again, to just support them, during this pandemic and help them through.
Have you done any work with the NHS itself to support the staff of the NHS?
At the minute, we haven't done anything with the NHS. I think some of the branches may have done something. predominantly at Croydon, what we're doing is food distribution and food packs, and we're sort of partnering up with the mosques and getting our own referrals as well through, you know, the local council. And we are sort of helping any, you know, if there's any emergency responses as well. For example, you know, we may get a call, you know, on a Friday, and nobody's able to help, sort of thing, and we will try and, you know, give an emergency response with the food pack. You know, because people are waiting for, you know, their benefits to sort of come through, or some people, like I said, are not able to have that. So the council will contact us on an emergency basis and ask us, you know, sort of on demand, can we sort of support a certain family? You know, they're a family of 5. You know, you know, the father isn't able to support them, or the family, and so forth. And so there's an emergency response. We've also got the partnerships, and we've also got the referral system as well, for people that can just come to us and ask us, and we try and see where we can help them.
I mean, that is amazing work, and again, may Allah give you the strength to all of you. But I mean, obviously, Bradford, for the Bradford office here, I think they provided quite a lot of bottled water to the local hospital when one day the hospital sort of put out a request to say, look, we need some water for the staff, and they also provide some food as well 3 times a week. And I know in this area, for example, there are many, many Muslim businesses who've done some amazing work, and I won't read the names or give you the names because I might forget somebody, and that would be unfair on them. But I think a lot of people in Bradford area know who they are. And again, the Muslim community has actually really shown how caring and loving it can be for its fellow human beings. And I know in some areas where, you know, for example in Dewsbury, where we have areas where there's a lot of anti-Muslim sentiment, the Muslim community has gone out there and provided food and other support services. Yeah. And that attitude towards the Muslims is changing. Now, have you found that in your area as well, in Birmingham, for example?
Absolutely. You know, we help people from all kinds of backgrounds.
Yes.
So first of all, you know, even with the medical, for the hospitals, we provided, you know, PPE for the local hospitals in Birmingham, a few thousand of them. And when we went to give it in, we had, you know, the nurses were like really happy. They had surprised. They're like, people are giving us food, but this is saving our lives. And then, you know, when we dropped off food, and me and Teresa have been together, and I've been separately as well. And you know, you see, last time we went, and there was a little 6-7-year-old girl standing at the window. You could see they were gone through hunger. And when the mother called me a day earlier, requesting food back, said we haven't had food for the past 2 days. Oh, and then when they would see, you know, Muslims turning up, you know, and it was in an area which is predominantly white, and there's a lot of racist sentiments in that area. But when we turned up there, they were really shocked and, you know, surprised that, oh look, Muslims are doing this. And in fact, we had phone calls and messages afterwards saying, you know, I'm gonna share, can I have your name of the organization please, because I would like to tell all my friends and family that how amazing Muslims are doing, how much amazing work they're doing. I want to write you on Facebook and write a review on your Facebook page, and I want to tell everyone how you've saved my life. So absolutely, it has changed a lot of
that is true Islam, isn't it?
Absolutely. And we're just doing it because we're a humanitarian agency. We're not doing it because we want to show, oh, we're Muslim, or we want to show we're Muslim. It's our duty. We're just doing what we're doing.
Regardless what color you are, what faith you are,
we just
you help anybody and everybody in this particular time of need.
Absolutely.
Right? And the experience of Al Khair as an organization, of many years of working mainly abroad, obviously, and you do work in this country as well. That experience, you know, Tabriz helped you structure this in the way you said it did.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, the other thing is, I'll give you the perfect example of our Glasgow branch, where what would happen was women were coming in their lunch hours. So white women working in their lunch hours would come and go off and deliver food parcels. Cafes that were closed, where people were opening their cafes, cooking for us. So on Monday someone else would do it, Tuesday someone else would do it, Wednesday some, you know, group of ladies would get together in the house, you know, a family of women, and they'd cook in the house, and they'd be cooking this cooked food and sending it out. So ours was so
it's on the screen as well.
Yeah, it's a real community approach to solving the problem. And you know, when we're talking about PPE, I think, you know, I'm not biased in saying this, I'm being completely honest in saying this. Al Khair were actually the first charity organisation to provide PPE equipment, which me and myself and Haroon dropped off in Birmingham at one of the hospitals. So we recognise, because we actually found out very early that the hospitals had quite a lot of food. They didn't really need much more, but they were desperate for PPE equipment. So we were very fortunate in that we were able to get hold of it and go and drop it off to them, to the head of procurement for the trust, and they were over the moon. And you know, when you're talking about community relations, I think what Muslims have been able to achieve this Ramadan in this country, really shows that we care about the place that we live in, we care about the communities in which we live, we're stakeholders in the places that we live, and that we're an essential, loving and caring part of the communities that we live. In fact, we've been a real example of how you should
I think
be.
you're absolutely right. I mean, certainly in Bradford, for example, and I've talked about this before on my program, there has been a very negative attitude toward the Muslim community and what it does for the area of Bradford, and this experience of the last 3 months in particular has transformed a lot of people's views in the way the Muslim community has responded, and there are numerous examples around the country as well. And coming back to Aisha in London, I mean, obviously it's a different world in London. North of Watford, as I say, is a totally different world. We see different attitudes, different behaviour. The experience of your local community towards the Muslim community and the masjids, have you seen a shift in that as well by any chance? I don't know if Aisha is still with us. So yeah, because I can't see her on the screen at the moment. Okay. So have you seen a change of attitude and difference in the way people interact with the Muslim community in your area?
100%. I mean, I find just with COVID-19, everybody has been supporting everybody. So we just sent out a few texts just to start the food distribution, and we received a massive response. Non-Muslims and Muslims, and with our food bank and our partnership, we're sort of not just supplying to Muslim households, we're giving support to non-Muslims as well. So everybody's had a very positive attitude, and we've found that everybody's been quite supportive. And we haven't really had that much of a problem. So, on the whole, I'd say we had a good response.
SubhanAllah, as I say, in Dewsbury, we have some areas which are very, very anti-Muslim. And it's probably, if you look at the voting system, the voting records, it's probably the highest wards where they have the highest number of votes for right-wing parties.
Oh, wow.
And there, the Muslim community has been providing 300 hot meals every day throughout the whole of this period, particularly in the Ramadan. And we can actually see attitudes changing there. I mean, Tabriz, you're the head of the organization. You started this work. Subhanallah, may Allah give you strength. And obviously it's been amazing. It's saved many people's lives, as you said. How do you see that work continuing for Al Khair? Obviously it's still going on. We're still in a lockdown of sorts at the moment. There's still vulnerable families out there. Thousands of people have lost their jobs who still require that support. Will this work continue as far as Al Khair is concerned?
Yeah, I mean, like I explained, brother, our work was already taking place before COVID-19 arrived. And all that happened was that we had to increase the amount of work we were doing once we walked into this pandemic. And since it's finished, our work still continues. And that's, and to be honest with you, I mean, I'd like to take the opportunity to, from the bottom of my heart, on behalf of the entire organisation, to thank all the branch staff, because, against their own personal safety in a lot of ways, against, their families asking of them to stay at home, they still went out because they felt the need of the community was greater than their individual need. And that's something that, makes me extremely proud to lead a team that has that kind of attitude and mindset, because they cared so much about what was happening around them and the level of poverty that they saw. And the poverty is going to get worse.
Oh, it is. That's why I'm asking. Much worse. That's why I'm asking the question.
So our work continues. Yeah, it continues. It's not going to stop. In fact, we've already we funded, not only worked within the branches where we didn't have presence in some of those cities or some of those areas. So in East London, we didn't have presence. We partnered with a local organisation there who worked with a few of the boroughs in that part of London, and we continue to do it.
So you supply food and other things to them?
We provide some of the funding. We make sure that, just like we do in other parts of the world, we use the same model. We use a partner, then we monitor and evaluate and the impact that our funding has had in those places. And the work continues. I mean, our work can't stop because the people are in such need.
I mean, coming back to both Aisha and Harun in a way, so start with Aisha first. In order for this to, the food bank to be sustained, the food receiving all the support that you do, have you found the Muslim businesses responding to your call, for this type of support in London? Have Muslim businesses contributed?
Yes, so I mean, to begin with, we were quite apprehensive and we weren't sure what the response would be. But the support that we've had from businesses is fantastic. We've got several local businesses that have, provided us donations in abundance. Local restaurants who, are not cooking or are not up and running. This is right at the beginning of, when the pandemic started and when the lockdown happened. They have donated, sacks, 25 kg bags of flour, rice, cooking oil, tinned goods. So we've had a huge response. I mean, only 2 weeks ago, I went all the way up into Victoria and I collected a massive donation from a restaurant owner. And then we have a few other, donors who are donating on a regular basis. So we've had a good response from just a small sort of shout out, just a small text message within our own network. However, we are continuing to support, our local community, and we still do need donations. So, if you are sort of, around, we would absolutely appreciate people sort of popping in or giving us a call and letting us know that, they want to donate some food items or even, donate money to help us with, being able to support these families that have been, affected with COVID-19. Ultimately, we have had a good response and we want to continue receiving that donation.
Okay, thank you very much, Aisha. Thank you very much, Aisha. Thank you for your input so far. Harun, is the same? You have the same experience over there
absolutely.
as well?
I think in the beginning, what happened was because we asked the general public to donate, so they were donating, generously as well. A lot of the thing in Birmingham specifically is there's a lot of different organizations doing this work. So you had at least 20, 30, 40, 50 organizations coming out and you're giving food packs. So alhamdulillah, the businesses have come forward, and there was a time where we couldn't find food, we couldn't buy food because either the all wholesalers, they just said we're not taking any customers because we running low on supplies, or different cases they had where they couldn't help. But alhamdulillah, we go in contact with different businesses like Best Place, for example, and they straight away, the CEO, the main manager, gave us a call, said, whatever you want, just come inside, come to the thing, and we more than
Muslim businesses have been
alhamdulillah, they have
amazing.
Absolutely, they've supported us, alhamdulillah. So,
do you find that the local media has picked that up about how Muslim businesses are providing this level of support, or not?
I haven't read much, to be honest, or seen a lot of social media. It's more stuff we've put out, or local organizations are putting out, but it is what it is. So whatever people are putting out.
So you don't have the Birmingham Mail saying Al Khair is in partnership with others.
I think there has been some coverage, but it hasn't been at the level it should be compared to the amount of work that's gone in and the response that's gone out.
Yeah.
And I think that's partly our failing in that we don't tell our own stories, that we don't have our narrative, and that's why it's good we have programs such as this where we're able to do that. But mainstream media has maybe its own agenda that it follows, and if it's a bad news story, it covers it well with Muslims. And when it's a good news story, it tends not to give it the coverage.
I mean, we experience this in this area as well.
Yeah.
There's been lots of Muslim organizations doing some phenomenal work, but the local press at one stage even sort of completely forgot all that, and they highlighted somebody else until it was pointed out, and they had to withdraw and acknowledge that there was some work going on. But Al Khair, I know has been mentioned, the work that we've been doing at the Bradford office, alongside with other big organizations and small organizations in Bradford. So some of them, the amazing work that they've been doing. And Bradford is obviously geographically is quite big, not as big as Birmingham, but small communities are dotted around. So again, this has been an opportunity for the Muslim community to show itself as a caring, loving, religion and faith. And as I said at the beginning, a lot of people have stepped up to the mark and have contributed so much. It's been unbelievable the amount of energy and effort that they put in. And all of them, in the majority of cases, are young people who've done this. And may Allah give them strength, give them rewards both in this world and the world hereafter for this amazing work that they have been doing. And this is something that we need to carry on with. When the pandemic is over, this work doesn't stop. And as Tabriz says, Al Khair will be doing their share of it. That they will be making sure that they continue the good work that they were doing before the pandemic hit, but also the spike in helping more people during the pandemic itself and after the pandemic. So Al Khair have been using the money, the donations that you have been providing, both in terms of food as parcels that Aisha mentioned, and the money that you've been contributing towards this good cause. So please, please, please continue to do so. It's absolutely vital that this work carries on. And only if we carry on doing this type of work, and as Tabriz says, we shout about it, tell the rest of the world, will people's attitude towards Islam and Muslims change? Tabriz, how do you see this developing? Very quickly, in a very short 10 seconds, how do you see it developing for you?
Well, I mean, we've actually adopted an approach now which is about working within the communities in which our branches are. So that work's going to continue, and then whatever, form or shape that takes is then dictated about the needs of the time, and we'll have our own programs. But this is something that we sincerely believe in the communities we live in, and we believe that we're stakeholders in this country that need to make a difference.
I'm just going to say that is the important word. We are stakeholders. This is our country. We are living amongst people, our people, whether they're Muslims or not. We need to be part of that community, and we need to be seen to be supporting everyone, regardless who they may be. I hope you've enjoyed the program. I hope you found it interesting. Inshallah, I'll see you next week when we talk about some other issues of importance to our community. Jazakallah khair. May Allah bless you and be with you and make dua for all of us. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.